If you have a psychological or psychiatric problem, don't look up a psychiatrist. This is too dangerous.
These are authored by people being paid by the drug company. And the drug company has two goals. Get past the hurdle of FDA approval and then tell a story that is going to be successful in the marketplace.
So we're on the rooftop of a hotel in Copenhagen, Denmark. Have we started already, Michaéla?
Oh, ik moet hem nog even op stil zetten.
Professor Schippers, may I ask you some questions?
Yes, of course. What do you want to know, Rico?
On a rooftop of a hotel in Copenhagen, Denmark.
Yes.
It's going to be my first scientific congress. Is it a congress?
Yes.
What's it called?
Congress, conference is the same.
Conference. I'm no scientist, so what am I looking forward to, Michaéla, the next 2 days?
There will be some filming and photos here, and I'm sure that you will all accept that, because in contrast to many people in healthcare, I'm convinced those who are here have nothing to hide. And we saw something outside that I would like to read aloud for you. When we came in here, there is a poster just outside the door by Margaret Mead, who said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has been able to change the world. The big changes in the world come from individuals who are fearless." So that's also a reason why we have united today. So I'm very happy that we succeeded with this meeting, despite all the various problems we have.
I've never been to a conference that's called Lack of Scientific Freedom, so that is a first for me. I think it's really interesting. I've been to a lot of conferences, and usually it's really nice because scientists exchange ideas. So they give a talk and then the public reacts, but usually you get some good ideas from them. If some people like to hear themselves talk, but that's you see that on every conference, I think, or every.
So is that new then, the lack of scientific freedom conference? Is that a sign of the times?
I feel it is, yeah, to be honest, because it feels like, of course, you can question if there was total freedom of science to begin with, because there's always been topics that I now find out have been suppressed. And I didn't know about the scientists, and I never, of course, you sometimes hear about a scientist that's being discarded somehow or cancelled, but then you don't know the whole story. And now I'm finding out that it used to be, yeah, so for some scientists it happened, but now it seems more common because everybody who doesn't follow the narrative can be cancelled.
Yeah. So if you look back, if you now you reflect on the past 5 years or 10 years of however long your academic career has been.
20 years?
I'm not talking to you directly.
Okay.
Well, but if you look back on your own history, certain topics may not have crossed your path, and that might have been your own disinterest. It wasn't on your route, or maybe they were suppressed already. That's the doubt that you might feel. Funny is, and I will try to either link it under this clip or grab it as a video and put it behind this little talk that we do here, of a lady working for the United Nations that says, "We've partnered with Google because when I was searching for certain topics, my favorite search engine, the one everybody still uses, doesn't give me back the United Nations preferred answers."
Yeah. Or was it the communications director of the World Economic Forum? I never heard of that lady before, but when I heard her talk, I was really shocked.
You know, we partnered with Google, for example. If you Google climate change, you will, at the top of your search, you will get all kinds of UN resources. We started this partnership when we were shocked to see that when we Googled climate change, we were getting incredibly distorted information right at the top. So we're becoming much more proactive. We own the science.
First of all, she started saying that she Googled for climate change, apparently, and she found all kinds of distorted information right at the top. That's her literal words that she said. And I'm like, okay, but people need to be able to make their own decision, or make their own, see what's right and what's wrong. And so first of all, she said we partnered with Google to make sure that only United Nations and World Economic Forum results are being found right at the top.
Or at the top, at least.
At the top, yeah. And a second, what really shocked me was that she casually said, we own the science. And I'm like, we own the science? Who owns the science? Does anybody own the science? I think nobody owns the science, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah, you were offended.
I was just shocked, basically. I'm not sure if I'm offended. It's just a ridiculous statement, actually, I think.
Yeah, at least so now the proper results are shown at the top of the Google search results. That, if I'm paraphrasing, that's what she said.
Yeah. But she thinks it's proper results.
Yeah.
Is that true?
The thing what Google can do is if you type a question and you've only half finished the question, like scientific free, and then you haven't formulated your question, maybe not even in your head, then Google already
gives you all the
suggests questions that you might want to ask.
Yes.
Now, if you're interested, for instance, in Michaéla Schippers, Google might suggest all kind of nasty questions,
yes,
like this, or might suggest favorable questions, and the suggestion already.
Actually, with my name, I don't get any suggestions. That's a problem. I try to find my own films, and it's really difficult, actually. Seriously. I'm sometimes Googling for films like Michaéla Schippers, Follow the Science, and then, like, let's say, Cognitive Dissonance. That's one of the films I made, and it's really hard to find it, actually.
You're not listed. So
probably not, or maybe in the section disinformation. I don't know where I'm at.
What are we going to do here on this conference then?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the lack of scientific freedom. That's actually but also for scientists, this really poses a problem, because there's now a couple of problems. So one is, if you do something and you have findings that nobody likes, it's a problem, because then you think as a scientist, what should I do? Because people aren't going to like this. My university is not going to like this. The dean is not going to like this. The head of the university may not like it. So you're going to think about your career that you built up over 20, 30 years. You might lose it, so you have to take this hurdle. So suppose you do take this hurdle and you say, okay, I'm brave, I'm going to publish it anyway, then there's the publication process. The reviewers might not like what you're saying, and you might not get past that hurdle. Then you are going to another journal. You're going to find journals that have more open reviewers, or have more broad range of topics on this specific area. Then you have to also take into account that as a researcher you are being awarded if you go to a high-level journal. But if these high-level journals also, Science and Nature and all these very high-level journals, are also buying into this idea of, trying to skew the science, then you will find problems on every step you take.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of studies that have been published in the last 2 years, especially the first year, which just provided noise, nothing else. Specialist journals, no longer generalist mega journals. It's a no-go area. Specialist journals are more likely to take stuff.
Do you rely on, so this is a question of conscience, but do you rely on Google to find the papers of your peers?
Yes, actually, I use Google Scholar a lot, and I think this is it's still difficult, but most papers are hopefully still being able to find, because I don't know what I can find.
You don't know if the listing is being manipulated or not?
I don't know that, but I'm really looking for the papers that I think are in my area, and so far it is okay, but I don't know what they're suppressing. So that's the problem. You don't know. But it feels like Google, like the Google thing, is more suppressing than Google Scholar. Because if you start suppressing that really big time, then I don't know, science is almost impossible, I think.
Well, science is being owned currently, as was the statement by this lady.
True. Yeah, they haven't found Google Scholar yet, maybe. Haven't partnered with that part. I don't know.
So we're going to try to talk to some of your colleagues. What would you learn from them then?
I'm working now on a paper with John Ioannidis, and we are writing about societal decline and the death spiral. We had a couple of films before where I talked about the bad series of decision making that leads to a death spiral, like in ants and ant mills. And I want to see if they, and I think I've gotten to the core of a big world problem. Is societal decline is almost always related to preceded by a huge increase in inequalities. And there's also really nice research, I think it's Wilkerson and Piquet, who looked at countries where all the countries where there is not a lot of inequalities had the array of social problems were much smaller. So even if by all standards everybody is kind of rich, but there's a huge inequality, then they have huge social problems like homicide, suicide, all the social problems, gun violence, all these kind of things.
Okay, so scientific freedom or academic freedom is not an issue discussed only in the Netherlands. It's a global thing. Do we get scientists from all over the world coming here?
Yes, they're coming from all over the world. So John Ioannidis is from Stanford University. Then Peter Gøtzsche wrote a book about that pharmaceuticals are the third leading cause of death in the world. And I think he got into trouble too when he published that. And yeah, so there's a whole array of Peter Gøtzsche is one of the organizers actually of this conference.
All right, so is this going to be a self-help group? So how are you doing? How are you doing? Or are we going to find solutions here?
I think both. Well, I don't think self-help, but it's just a scientific conference, and you can choose any topic. But I think this is one of the main topics, because in every society in decline, the first thing also that disappears is scientific freedom, individual freedoms. So yeah, and that is of course the rise of tyranny, maybe.
Yeah, and also maybe we need to stop being dependent on the big tech search engine for finding academic papers or research.
Yeah, that's
and easy. If it's not there yet, then maybe that would be the next challenge.
It's easy said, because I think a lot of people realize that for years already. Like a person like Brett Weinstein, he was a biologist who was also speaking out on a topic that the university didn't like, and he kind of wasn't protected by his university, so he changed universities and he started what's apparently called the dark web. And I thought, ooh, this is a very nasty association that I have.
So is that the dark web I would know?
No, and so apparently that was a web, and I would have given it the light web or something, because it's actually something that scientists, kind of a free space for scientists to discuss topics that were off topic for.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Okay, let's do this.
I think the journal publishers, they don't adhere to the publishing ethics, because there are three reasons for retractions. One reason is wrong data, fabricated data. Another reason is wrong analysis, and the third reason is plagiarism. And if you say, well, this is actually not a case of plagiarism, this is not a case of bad data, it's not a case of bad analysis because we have the data from public sources, doesn't matter. They still do it. And I don't know what to do. I think the only thing one can do is complain about it, make it